Hey ladies, this is Sideline Sisters and I'm your host, Jenny Chaffetz. This is a show for no BS midlife women who want to escape the mundane routine of their lives and be captivated by conversations that are fun, relevant, and juicy. These interviews will take you into the lives of relatable women who've gone on a journey and lived to share the lessons. They will be funny, sad, scary, wise, encouraging, and real. These are the stories you want to hear. This show is your invitation to take back your power, reignite your passions, and step off the sidelines. Let's go! Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Sideline Sisters. My name is Jenny Chaffetz and I'm your host. I am so grateful that you found your way here, whether it is through a podcasting app, my website, or YouTube. I'm just really honored and grateful that you are listening and finding these conversations interesting and valuable. I feel so honored that my guests come on and share really personal, vulnerable stories in an attempt to connect with the listeners and validate other people's experiences in life. And in case you missed it, last week's conversation with Liz Hirsch-Naftali was a really powerful example of how this all works. She came on and talked about her work with her own podcast, the Capital Coffee Connection podcast, and she also shared her family's heartbreaking experience in Israel, the deaths of family members, and how her great niece was taken hostage. Really horrific things for anyone to experience, and to come here and speak about it, to educate and maybe even motivate this audience is something I honestly treasure. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, I really encourage you to do so. And today you get to hear the story of another brave woman. Nicole Foster is the founder and CEO of Cashew Creamery, a plant-based ice cream company. She has also ventured into tech with the creation of Somos, the AI-powered storytelling platform. Somos helps families preserve, organize, and share their stories before they're lost to memory loss, digital clutter, and time. Nicole is a legacy advocate and former civil rights and healthcare attorney, building a new frontier at the intersection of memory identity and technology. Nicole boldly tells her story of how her two companies were born from tragic events within her family. And she also talks about her individual journey toward building courage and intuition and self-trust. Things that many in this audience struggle to find for themselves. So I really hope this conversation with Nicole offers some tips and leaves you feeling hopeful, because it's possible for all of us to develop this inner knowing and to also feel connected and supported by our fellow sisters. Now, before I get into today's conversation, I want to talk to you about breathwork. Breathwork is becoming more common and available online and in person. But in case you don't know what it is, I want to tell you, because I only heard of it and got into it 5 years ago. Even though it's been around for thousands of years, what breathwork is at the very foundation is using our breath intentionally to move energy in our bodies. We focus on a particular breath pattern, and it could be something as simple as a basic inhale and exhale. But when we focus on breathing, just breathing, our body is doing work for us. It's like internal housekeeping system. The power of your breath allows stuck energy, and stuck energy really just means emotions that you haven't processed. So all the stuck energy that found its way into the corners and crevices of your body, imagine your breath acting like a broom, drain cleaner, feather duster, and vacuum, cleaning up all of the dust bunnies and dog hair and gunk that has collected. Think of this situation. You had an argument with your spouse first thing this morning, but then you had to go into work and immediately get on a conference call or sit in a board meeting. You might still be really frustrated about that conflict at home, but you can't deal with that right now because you have work to do. So that frustration, that irritability, anger, sadness, confusion, all of that is left settling in your body somewhere unprocessed. Now, if we do that over and over and over again, day after day, year after year, we begin to experience dis ease. All of that unprocessed, stuck emotion in the body needs somewhere or something to do. So we could begin to feel unwell. It could lead to all kinds of health problems: skin, hair, metabolism, digestive, reproductive, rage, stress, anxiety. It could lead to all kinds of things because it hasn't been looked at and dealt with properly. So when you get into the breathwork practice, your body has the opportunity, the freedom to process some of what's been ignored. And it's not done with talking, it's not done with running, it's not done with eating or drinking. Just breathing will allow your body to move some things around. Going back to that housekeeping analogy, when you do that deep clean and move the furniture around and look under things and tidy up, you make space. Boom, what a concept. I know in our obsessed consumerism, we often don't have space in our homes to look around and feel peaceful. But when we do that deep housekeeping and decluttering, there's space. And maybe that means that you decide you need a new end table or refreshed bed linens. But that perspective comes by giving your house space. The same way perspective and clarity come when we give our bodies space. When we do the work, the breath work, and move things around inside. We see things differently and we're able to get understanding, grace for everything that we have been through. Describing breath work is kind of like describing a roller coaster or a delicious warm from the oven chocolate chip cookie. You kind of have to experience it to really get it, which is what I want to invite you to do with me. I've shared a link in the show notes so that you can experience a breathwork session with me. The one I'm including in the show notes is an energizing session. So just click the link in the show notes and you'll be able to grab that free breathwork session. But in addition, in the Sideline Sisters Facebook group, there are a number of breathwork sessions available for you to experience on your own with all different themes or intentions behind them. So I'll put those links in the show notes for the free energizing session as well as the Facebook group. And I invite you sincerely to try it out for yourself in the comfort of your space, and then let me know what you think. If you found it in any way worthwhile, then know that you can work with me individually on your specific concerns or issues and get that beautiful, special, nurturing support from me privately. Now let's get into today's conversation with Nicole. I am thrilled to be here today with my new friend. Welcome, Nicole Foster.
Thank you, Jenny. It's so wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really excited for you to tell this audience of predominantly midlife women all of the incredible lessons you have learned over the course of time and have the courage to speak openly about. So we're just going to get right into it because, we're midlife women. We don't have time to waste. Just
Right.
kidding. Just kidding.
Let's not beat around the bush.
Right. So we had a nice chat before I pressed record and I wrote down a bunch of notes, but I'm going to start off with something you said to me just a couple moments ago. And you posed it as sort of a question related to the things in your life or the things that we're all facing in our own. And the question you said was, do you have the courage to make the choice?
Hmm.
And you were reflecting on things that you had done in your own life. And some of those were, I imagine, really hard decisions to make, but they came from this well of courage. So let's start there. Tell us about courage. Where does it come from? How do you find it? And what does it feel like to use to present it to the world?
Wow, that is a huge question. I mean, courage for me is built and nurtured from a strong belief in myself, from a strong self-love, from a strong belief in the universe around me being forever abundant. And so I was explaining to you that I make decisions based on my intuition, what feels light, what feels like I'm moving towards lightness versus if it feels like it's heavy, it's dark, I have to feel like I'm getting over something and it's an obstacle. If there's any of that, the latter, it's not the right decision. So
Mm.
I go with my intuition. My intuition is my co-founder, and my co-pilot in life. And it's based on, you know, a practice, it's like practice and meditation and focus to be able to trust my intuition enough that I know that when I ask it a question and I say, is this right for me? It's going to give me an answer I'm going to feel it in my whole body. And I know, okay, it's right, it's not right. And I make a decision accordingly. So that courage, I guess, as I said, it's built, it's nurtured, and I have had to rely, and it's getting stronger. And as I get older, it's a more like, I don't have any more F's to give, right?
Yeah, I actually I was gonna finish your sentence for you. Yeah, I had a feeling that's where you were going.
And so it's getting much easier to walk away from things that no longer serve me. If I feel like, as I was sharing with you, relationships, jobs, roles, titles that I might have been eager to get to at one point. But when I look around, I'm in the room and I'm like, I've tried this on. It doesn't work for me. And I'm not going to stay there just for ego, right? I'm not there. I'm not in this life for vanity metrics. Oh, I'm a lawyer. I'm a judge. I'm a this, I'm a that. If it doesn't nurture my spirit. And so I had my own firm. I was an attorney, a trial attorney at a boutique firm, and I loved it and I did it for years. But after a while, I looked around and I was like, okay, I did 45 jury trials. This is what I wanted to do. Do I need to do this? I mean, are there other things in this one life that I want to try? Absolutely. Are there other things that stir my soul? Yes. Am I brave enough to go for it? Yes. And so I'm not just going to quit my job the next day or like close down my law firm, but I made plans to do things a different way, at different transitions in my life. When I had a baby, something else presented itself and I was like, oh, there's an opportunity here. And I walked towards that.
Whoa. Now, in this world, and this has come up so many times on this show and so many conversations with midlife women, there is an addiction to outsourcing power, to looking externally for answers and influence. How have you managed to cultivate the self belief, the intuition that for a lot of people feels vacant, feels like there's a void in that chakra? Like, I don't have intuition. I need to go ask 27 people in my neighborhood and at the mall what I should do about my marriage.
Wow. Okay. For me, it was meditation. When I started meditating, the voices came. Like, I don't want to, oh, that sounds crazy. No, no.
No, no, no. Yeah, I get it.
In stillness, you start to hear maybe spirit. I believe in spirit. So I started to hear spirit, little things, and I was perk up because maybe it wasn't my voice necessarily, but it came in stillness. And you have to give yourself the gift of that stillness daily. And I don't mean getting a cappuccino, like going into Starbucks and getting a cappuccino like by myself. I mean taking the time to take 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe more minutes by yourself. No chores, no responsibility. We're women. I know it. We got
Right.
all the things we got to do and we're burnt out, right? So but that's why we need to take those minutes for ourselves and pour into ourselves. Because as I told you, I cannot pour from an empty cup. I have to pour into me. And so, yeah, so that's what I do. When I started meditating, I started hearing voices, my voice, the voice of spirit, much more clearly. And I began to be able to really trust my intuition. And I think the other thing that's really important is that, society cuts us off from the center of our intuition, right? We are taught to ignore it, especially in this age, because we're no longer of reproductive age. But our wombs are the center of our intuition, our power. It's the seat of our power. When you take a moment to reconnect to your womb, that's also when, all that intuition, all that trust, all that, and that reconnection, that power, that trust, it all comes pouring into you. But you just gotta like take a minute to reconnect to that. We have to unlearn what society has taught us about our wombs, right? It's just there for, and now you don't need any reproductive health. You're fine,
Sure.
right? But you're not, but you are, but it's because you have to take that moment to like just sit with maybe your hands over your womb and just be like, hey, what do you have to tell me? You know? So I believe very strongly that we've got the power to do that. I believe that we have the power to heal our own bodies. We don't need to seek anything externally. I think everything starts with the things we put into it, the food, the music, the conversations, if you're not putting things in that are stimulating and are fostering growth, then I think it's going to lead to stagnancy. So I'm very careful about who I'm talking to, what I'm reading, what I'm listening to, what I'm watching. You know what I mean? It's super powerful stuff.
Yeah, I love that. I met a coach, a women's empowerment kind of coach, a while back, and we all know that watching the news is negative. It is vile. And I heard her explain how she cuts herself off from all news sources and relies on, a particular friend to tell her if there's an earthquake coming or something. No, I guess if
Right,
no
right.
earthquake already came, but if there's some sort of,
Something major coming.
yeah. And it was just funny. And I've since heard that message repeated so many times. And I have done a really good job at cutting myself off to the point that, you know, my brother will say to me, geez, what are you living under a rock? Like, how did you not know about such and such global issue or world event? And it's like, because it sucks. Why do I want to know that? Why do I want to tune my radio to that station? I don't want to think about that. Yes, it's happening, but not a damn thing I can do about it. So
Right.
I just have to, I don't know, water my garden and focus here and not get sucked down that abyss. But it's not easy.
And I think it is not easy. And I think that what you're doing is an act of resistance. It's revolutionary, right? You're not getting sucked into the fear-based anything.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really, that in itself is resistance.
Now, just for my own value, when you talk about meditation, what does that look like for you, or has it changed over time? Did you just choose to sit in a chair or lie in bed for 10 minutes of quiet? Do you use guided meditations? What is
Yeah,
most
no,
supportive for you?
no. I cannot just sit there with like Zen. I have to like focus my mind on something. And so I started with Joe Dispenza's like morning meditation. I just love him.
Yep.
And I noticed I was blown away by how I meditated this first time like several years ago. And one of the things he says in the meditation is if your family is noticing the change within you, you'll know this was real. And I like it came to me that what somebody's going to say, your energy is different. My 8-year-old at the time, came downstairs, I had meditated in the morning and came downstairs, and my son, the first thing he said to me was, your energy is different. I was like, what? That's crazy. And I was hooked. I was like, okay, there's something to this. Not only, it's not just about making yourself really calm, but it's also about what he does that I like. And this is what I do, is that I kind of meditate on who I no longer want to be and who I want to be. And what I want to be, what I want more of in my life, what I want to bring into my life. And then I give myself the emotional energy like it's already happened. And that's the energy that people see, the switch.
Wow. That's big stuff.
And what works for me is, visualizing that I want to be filled with love and light. And that's part of my everyday. I want love and light to be radiating, even to people who I don't particularly love or
Mhm.
like. I want that love and light because I think again, that's a resistance. I need to, if I can give that off, then maybe you can receive that. And then maybe slowly the world will change. I mean, we're living through some really crappy times right now. So my little piece, just like you, I'm watering my garden. This is the way that I water my garden. I want to be the best version of me, the most loving, the most kind, the most determined, the most disciplined, version of me. And and that really helps me. I'm closer to that, yogi that I would be if I just sat in a corner quietly, because then I'd be punishing myself because I thought something and oh my God, oh, you just thought something. I can't keep my mind. I this works for.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I'm curious. I find myself doing this where I ask like a three-part question all in one, and then I expect you to remember all the parts of it.
Right. And you know how old I am. So girl, please don't set me up to failure.
Okay, so first part, were you raised to embrace this kind of side of you, to connect with your intuition? Was that always a part of your life?
No. I was raised Catholic and Christian, and that was a religion that, I mean, we talked about prayer a lot, but um, it was very, fear-based, sin, original sin, and growing up, that never resonated with me. I didn't understand these stories. I didn't see myself in these stories, but I went to Catholic school through high school
Mm.
and faced a lot of really, strange experiences that I didn't think would necessarily come from a Catholic environment. And just, I think when did my formative years in DC, I did my formative years in DC. I went to college at GW and I got my master's degree in GW, and then I went to Philadelphia. And I spent some time in Europe as well, working as a consultant. I don't know. It was during those times when I read the book, The Celestine Prophecy, and that book kind of opened my eyes to energy and kind of transformed the way that I thought about things. And the Catholicism, I felt free to say, okay, I can walk away from Catholicism because it just doesn't serve me.
Right, right.
It just didn't, you know, but all things spiritual empowered me to
Mm.
really grow into the essence of who I was. And so it really changed my mindset again from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, and helped me again have that courage and develop that courage and have that ability, that bravery to be able to make certain changes in my life and not feel like I'd be giving this up, because I don't believe I'm giving anything up. I believe that life is abundant and I'm moving towards the choices that are for my good, and that everything here is for my good. And that's the way I look at life, and it's helped. And I try to speak life into all my circumstances. Now I fall. I mean, like we all do, I fall. But then I think that what separates me now is my ability to jump back into the mindset that's positive and uplifting, as opposed to dwelling in this negativity, which I used to. Does that make sense?
So, yeah. So once you embraced this courageous perspective, what is it like when you come up against a challenge, whether it's a personal relationship, a business decision, a health issue, just some sort of stumbling block? How do you keep from falling into the trap of either woe is me or this is hard and kind of spiraling out in that, or the fear thoughts? I mean, do they just not come in, or is there work that you do to keep them at bay?
Oh yeah, they come in. I was just trying to think of a situation just recently where I could have let myself spiral into this like fear place. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just be calm about it. And I've spent part of the year in Oaxaca, Mexico. because it's just more a calming place for me to be, to do my work, right? I will get into what I do a little bit later, but it's a calming place for me, and my kids are with me. And I'd sent away for my son's renewal of his passport, and I recognized that it'd been 2 months, it'd been over 2 months, and we didn't have the passport back. And now it is maybe 5 days before we're about to leave, and there's no information in the system about where this passport is. And we're leaving in a few minutes to go to his grandmother's 80th birthday in the United States. And that was a moment that I was like, oh, like about to freak out. Like, what am I going to do? Freak out.
Right.
And then I was like, everything happens for my best, for my good. And I truly believe that. If we don't make that flight, we weren't supposed to be on that flight. If we don't go to that party, we were not supposed to go to that party. And then we had plans to go to another country afterwards. If we don't go, we're not supposed to go. I mean, okay, I'm not going to be silly about it. I'm going to put some things in place to see, okay, can we do this? What are some alternatives? But I'm not going to freak out.
Mm,
Don't you know that we were leaving on a Thursday and the passport came on Wednesday?
of course it did.
And so that gave me even more. So now the next time I know, okay,
Yeah.
now I know. You know what I mean? It's like every time
Yeah.
closer to the knowledge. Okay, this is the right way. This is the way.
Ah, that's gold right there. I mean, getting that proof and then just, storing it in the evidence box of when I trust myself, when I follow this path of staying calm, believing in the highest and best good and all that, things fall into place.
Things fall into place. You are exactly where you need to be. I got to trust that, you know,
Yeah.
I'm exactly where I need to be when I need to be there, that I'm a pure, good-hearted person. I'm not moving from any malintention. I'm
Mm.
moving in this world through peace and love. And not everyone is moving through peace and love, but with me, but I almost feel impenetrable, right? Like impervious to anybody else's negativity. I just try to brush it off. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's taken a lot of work. I mean, but I recognize that me angry all the time. I mean, I left situations where I just felt angry all the time. I felt like I wasn't seen. I felt like I wasn't respected. And that you can feel that all over your body. I felt it. I carry tension in my neck and my lower back. I felt it everywhere. And every day I was like, oh. And then I was like, why am I doing this? This is the other way, this decision. Should I stay here? And spirit was like, no, and I'm feeling the lightness towards making this other decision. And it's like as soon as you make the decision, it all falls away.
Hey, everybody, sorry for the interruption, but I have to tell you about the upcoming gentle coaching workshop called Coping with Challenges. Yeah, we all have coping strategies, but maybe yours are not the most healthy or supportive for your nervous system. If your go to coping mechanism is food, drink, shopping, gambling, scrolling, binging Netflix, then I want to invite you into this free workshop where we will explore other techniques that will be a little more conducive to overall well being, feeling content, serenity, and even better sleep. The workshop is Tuesday, July 15th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time for 1 hour, and you can check the show notes to register. I really hope to see you there. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But there could be listeners who are hearing this story saying, that's great that she did that, but maybe she doesn't or she hasn't experienced some of the pains of my life.
That's
That
true.
she stays love and light, but I had breast cancer or I had an abusive marriage. So that's great for Nicole, but that's not going to work for me. What would you say to those people?
I was in an abusive marriage. I mean, I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. Um, it's not like, it's been all like poppies and you know what I mean? But it's about mindset, right? It's about the story we tell ourselves. And we all got a story. And you
Mm,
could either be the hero of the story or you can be the victim of the story. And we all have the pen. We're in charge of writing that story. I can write any story and any ending, and I can make myself be any role in it. I choose to make myself be the heroine of my story. Right? I mean,
I want everyone to sit with that for a moment because that's big. That's really big that choosing how we're going to write the story. It feels like a really big mountain to climb.
yeah. Listen,
No,
I was in a marriage that, and I don't want to say, I'm not here to drag my husband down or my ex-husband down because he's a good man. But, we all have things, right? And we sometimes don't know how to approach, relationships. We're doing the best we can, right? But there were things that he said and did. I mean, not physically abusive, but like very emotionally abusive. And even in the relationship that I just ended, very emotionally abusive, very manipulative, lying, cheating, that type of thing. So I have felt, have been, in those situations, in the early part of the marriage, I'd be like, my story was, I'm in an unhappy marriage. And I would tell this story to anyone who would listen. If you just ask me how my day, I'm not happy. You can see like your whole energy is just so different. Until I was like, wait, I think I thought about something one time during this process. I thought about something and my heart started to race. And I was like, what? That's interesting. If you could just change your physical body with just your thought in a negative way,
yeah.
you must be able to change your physical body with your positive thoughts in the most beautiful way. And I started to exercise that muscle. And
Mm,
that, has been part of this process whereby, wow, I don't want to feel like that. So my story now is, do I have the courage to, okay, this not serving me? What are your contributions to this relationship or to this thing? Are you how can you fix yourself so that you are having a different experience? And if you're doing that work and you're still not having a different experience, okay, it's time. Should I ask spirit? Should I
hmm,
exit left? And if the answer feels light, if you're following something that feels like a lightness of being, a lighter decision, then that's the answer. That's your spirit telling you. So I think what we need to do is be training our bodies to like understand what it feels like when the universe is answering, when spirit is answering, when God is answering, when Goddess is answering. How does that feel in our bodies? And then trust that. And we do it once, and then, okay, that seemed like a pretty good outcome. And then you can do
mm,
it again because you're trusting that little by little.
right, right. It's like having this internal magic 8 ball that you can turn to for advice. Should I go out with this guy? Should I order pizza? What should I do? And
Well, it might always say yes to the pizza.
it might. Uh, so using pizza as our segue, what was it like for you to shift from legal, public servant, government, all the corporate stuff into the world of food?
Oh, liberating. It was so liberating. I was working for the federal government at the last bit that I was doing. And Jenny, I hated it, right? There was inefficiency. There was, uh,
What?
oh, I
Give
know,
me a
right?
break.
I know.
Come on.
It was crazy. And I just hated the work. And I felt like I was built for something bigger and better, like much more expansive. And I had been a trial attorney. So moving from being a sovereign attorney with my own firm and doing these trials and to going into working for somebody else in the federal government, which I thought was the safer thing to do. I just thought it was the better thing to do now that I had a family. I was like, oh no, this is awful. And it took me a really long time to get out of it. 8 years I was in that federal government position, just hating life. I would go to work and be like, oh. And so one time, once I just decided, I saw a picture of a townhouse. I was living in Miami and I saw a picture of like a Brooklyn brownstone. And I was like, oh, I love this. It's so beautiful. This is where I want to be living. And I had been wanting to get back up to the north because, as I told you, I went to school in the north. And so I put that in my office. I put that in my office. I closed my door and I just kind of like meditated on that. And I didn't do any work for like 2 weeks. I did nothing. I don't even care. Nobody knows. Um, and then I just started writing. How do I want to be living? How do I want to be spending my days? How do I want to be? And I just started writing all these. I wanted to be around creative people. I wanted to start doing something that was creative, something that flowed out of me, something that helped people. Something, and then ideas started coming when I gave myself the liberty to think like that, right? And I wasn't thinking about how it was going to happen, where the money was going to come from, any of that. I was just thinking, how do I want to be living and how do I want to be serving this world? And one of the things I remember saying is that I wanted to be around creative people and and I love ice cream, but my son was born preemie. And so he was born at 1 pound and he was having respiratory issues and he was getting dairy and the dairy was making him sick. And so now he's a toddler and he can't have ice cream. And it was like, and it was hard telling a toddler you can't have ice cream. And
Yeah.
everything that we found on the market was not
It's hard telling an adult you can't have ice
right,
cream.
right? Everything we found on the market was not great. High calories, full of synthetic ingredients. Even the things that were purportedly healthy seemed to be
Yep.
full of synthetic ingredients. And then finally, the flavors were super bland. They were not flavors that were representative of any culture. We were Caribbean. We are Caribbean. And so they weren't representative of our culture, any other culture. So at that moment, I was like, wait a minute, this is it. This could be the thing that I kind of move into. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, that's the adventure, right? That's it. But this is going to allow me to live like that. And we ended up moving up to DC and then eventually moving to Baltimore. And don't you know that that picture of that brownstone is pretty much exactly what my living room looks like? I mean, I just visualize the hell out of it. And I'm around creative people. We're talking about collaborations. We're trying to build a business from scratch. And we've gone, within a few years, we went from just an idea to being listed by the Today Show as one of the 41 best scoop shops in the country. And so, that's is the power of visualization, I guess.
Right? I mean, it's like the guy from The Secret who had the picture of the dream home on his vision board and
Right.
then sure enough
Mhm.
ends up living in it. Yeah.
Right, right,
God. That's such a cool story. And especially as someone who chooses to eat dairy-free and crap-free ice cream.
right. So
I would love to be living down the street from your shop because that would be nice. It's not here. Yeah, I won't trash talk everything around me, but it would be nice if I had better options.
yeah. It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
Good. So that's amazing. So you pivoted on the career and it opened all these exciting doors for you. And then at a at some point down your journey, you pivoted again or added another extension to the company diversity, the personal endeavor diversity. And
Yeah.
what was that like? How did that come to be this additional company that you started?
Yeah, so that was, we're working in my company's cashew. We're a Black-owned cashew milk ice cream company, and we do things a little bit differently because we do only culturally curious flavors. So we have flavors like horchata, baklava, kulfi, cortadito, things like that.
I love how you say culturally curious. That's so fun.
Right. And it's because I am culturally curious and I travel a lot and I travel for food. So I'll see your sites after my belly's full. Where am I going? Where is the little cute
Right,
place?
right, right, right.
You know what I mean?
Give me good food. I don't need another
Right.
cathedral. Yeah,
Right, exactly. And I'll see it, but I'll see it
right.
after I find, I travel for food. I'm a definitely international, like global foodie.
Love it.
And so we named it after, we did it based on the our favorite treats from around the world. And so, this is going well, right? We opened a shop, we're in Whole Foods, we're like growing, growing, growing. And then a few years ago, my dad had a medical procedure. When he came out of the medical procedure, he didn't seem to be the same person who went in. And it was like, whoa. And there was a real fear that we were going to lose him. And I'm now looking at my 10-year-old son and thinking, wow, there's a real chance because I've never recorded a single story that he's told me of his emigration journey, of him growing up in South America, of how he started life in this country, how my mom came to the country. Um, these stories are super powerful, and they regaled me with these stories when I was younger. And I was like, there's a real chance that my kids will not know my parents or my
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah.
How do families do this? What should we do? And so I shared this concern with my kids, and my younger son, who was 10 at the time, said, why don't we interview them? So we called it a Story Galore project, Story Galore. And each kid wrote 10 questions. And they said, okay, figured out the date and all the stuff that they were going to ask when they were going to interview my parents. And those 20 questions that they asked, Jenny, changed the course of my life because I witnessed so many amazing things in that interview, in the few hours that it took for this interview to transpire. I noticed my parents were very stiff when they were telling the story, and my parents are, getting up in age. This was like 3 years ago. My parents are getting up in age. They're no longer, uh, who they used to be. But I watched them go from super stiff to like super lively when they got back into the stories and the memory recall. There was such joy that was coming back to them and almost such purpose because they were telling these stories and it's almost like they knew why, right? And I watched my 7-second attention span kids wrapped, just so undivided attention towards my parents. And then watched this bonding occur that I hadn't seen before. And in my meditation, one morning, narrative bonding sprung into my mind. And I was like, boom, that's what I saw.
Wow.
Narrative bonding. I started researching it more and thinking, oh my God. And then I learned so many things about the act of storytelling. It's super beneficial, especially for older people, because it helps to increase cognitive functioning.
Mm.
It helps to stave off dementia, the risk of dementia by about 50%. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, it's amazing. The act of storytelling it increases your well-being. And what happens is that there's neurocognitive benefits. You start, as the storyteller, start to release certain, hormones like
Yep.
oxytocin.
I was just going to say it's the oxytocin, it's that bonding with another being and the connection.
And the reason you bond is because the listener releases the same chemicals at the same time. Boom. When does that ever happen, right? We are so connected through the act of storytelling. Jenny, storytelling was our first technology.
Yeah.
And the way that we connected was through rhythm, through frequency, and so that's why I think that ancient civilizations knew this. And that's why storytelling was told in the way that it was done, right? Um, it wasn't necessarily written down. It was done through 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 frequency, through rhythm,
Yeah.
so that you can feel it and carry it in your body. And I think now, that narrative bonding, that connection is made. My kids learned about my parents. They've known my parents their entire lives. And they learned so much about my parents that they had never discussed, and it made them feel closer to them. Not only that, it made them feel pride in the stock that they had come from. They were like, wow, if they can do
Mm.
that, look what I can do and I have more resources.
Wow.
Um, so storytelling is powerful, and it's our duty to preserve these stories. You've got people in your family, I've got people in our family. They are living libraries. And so I think it's our duty to preserve these stories. And people are interested in that, right? People want to know their family genealogy and things like that.
Pardon the interruption, but I have to tell you about my absolute favorite place on planet Earth. It's called Canyon Ranch. Have you ever heard of it? It is a wellness resort, and there are several locations in the United States. I have been to the one in the Berkshires of Massachusetts. And I'm telling you about it so that you can enjoy 10% off this spectacular place. Everything from the food, the staff, the facilities, the workshops, the exercise classes, the overall vibe, it's first class. So I hope you will check it out. You can book online or over the phone using code SIDELINE to save 10%. And now let's get back to the show.
Also, I started a company called Somos. I started talking to people, and I talked to about 200 people in this like customer discovery moment. And I was like, okay, is this important to you? And if so, what do you do? And I learned that 93% of the 200 people that I spoke to thought that this was extremely important to document family lives, to share, to preserve their family histories, and family stories. Only 30% did. And they said the 30% said that they didn't do it because the 30% the 80% that didn't do it said they didn't do it because it was overwhelming. It was a daunting task. It's like they don't know where to start. They don't know what questions to ask. They don't know how to save it, where to organize it, what thing to use, what equipment to use,
Mhm,
what
mhm.
equipment to now go, and now time. You have to go back and listen to it and transcribe it. And they didn't have the
Yep.
time. And everyone thinks that they have time until, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
Where did the name come from?
somos is a Spanish word that means we are.
Yep. Yep.
Somos means we are, and the idea is that we are here now, and we should never let ourselves get in this situation again where all we have is a photo and
Yeah.
name or a piece of something, a little thing, and we don't know the story behind it because we've got the people here right now. And we've got the technology to do it. And so this is the first mover in the market. It's the first thing in the market that's putting all of these. Oh, by the way, what it is an AI powered platform that allows, it's a storytelling platform, it's a social networking platform, and it allows families to collaboratively curate a shared space of their family memories. Everyone can participate. You can upload photos, videos, voice notes, documents. It allows you to conduct these intergenerational AI prompted intergenerational interviews in the app, which are then
Wow.
tagged and categorized and transcribed for you. And then everything goes into this beautiful organized family archive. So that's what
Wow.
I'm trying to build. And that's what I wish existed it's literally what I wish existed when 3 years ago, when I was looking at my dad in the hospital bed going, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's way too early.
Wow. I love that one company is Spanish, one is French. You maybe you have plans for the next, Italian company, who knows? That's so fun. And when you think about storytelling, that's one of the things I love about podcasting. It's
Mhm.
like, for me at least, with this show, I'm let's just say, for the sake of it, it's a one-on-one conversation. We're not looking at our phones, we're not watching TV in addition to talking. It's just eyes looking at each other,
Mhm.
conversing, telling stories.
Mhm.
Do you think we get the same oxytocin effect in this environment?
I think so. I mean, look, I feel bonded to you, right?
I walk away from every conversation like my new best friend. I mean, like, when are we getting together? What's for dinner?
right, exactly. And I think it's because, yeah, we're now sharing parts of our lives in a really intimate format.
Yeah,
So thank you for doing this because it gives people a space not only to tell these stories, but to hear them and feel
yeah.
moved and empowered to do different things with their lives.
Yeah, I have been so affected by podcasts. I listen to them, and then I have to remind myself, no, wait a second, you're actually not best friends with Christina Applegate. You don't know her at all. Even though you listen to her,
Right.
you're not really friends with her. But she's on the dream list of this show. But it is a really fascinating development in this millennia, that this storytelling platform of podcasts. I freaking love it. But that's awesome. I love what you've created, and I think that is a really powerful and rich way of collecting all of that, the stuff that just finds its way into envelopes and boxes and drawers scattered in different people's homes, never to
Right,
be actually chronicled and explained.
right. And the amount of time that I think we spend looking through genealogy and looking for some piece of ourselves, this is tapping into something that's very innate, an innate desire to feel rooted, to
Yeah.
know who you are and to know it through your history. Yeah, I think we are 2 months, about a month from launch, but I think this is going to be transformative for people because, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, and even for all the people out there who are adopted or mixed, foster and mixed families, wherever they land, if those are, it's that nature versus nurture, the environment, those are their stories. So even if there isn't, my brother's adopted and he can go do 23andMe and get some data from that,
Right,
but a huge aspect of him is environmental. It's the home he came from. And so those are the stories, even though there's not a blood tie necessarily, that's I'm his family. It
right,
doesn't matter that we don't share DNA. And
right.
so I really love that this kind of, I don't want to say dismisses genetics, but storytelling and family storytelling, you're a product of your family or
Mhm.
your household, your people, your neighborhood, that this could bring connection to someone who might feel disconnected.
That's a really interesting perspective that I hadn't thought of. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I think that, yeah, I think you're right that I think that there's obviously certain stories you might want to know about your biological family,
Sure.
but it's the family that he grew up in with all the rich layers of stories. Remember what happened in 1982? Remember that time? It's that has
Yeah.
made him who he is. That has
Yeah.
really made your brother who he is. And so, yeah, that's super interesting.
I mean, even I think about you. So even if you had an adopted child,
Mhm.
you are who you are because of the journey your parents traveled, and those are the lessons and values that you're passing on to your children, whether they were biological or not. So this is the depth of what you're creating is just
Yeah,
the trickle down of memories and values and
sure.
yeah, jewels.
Jewels. And it's definitely to be enjoyed now and to be shared and to bring families closer and to feel connected, like you were saying. But then it's really to be enjoyed as well by the future generations. We want this to be around for a long time
Yeah.
so that your future generations know how your dad laughed, or your mom, or your grandmother, or how you laughed, or
Hmm.
how you sounded, how you interacted with your son, how you interacted with your daughter, the peace the smile and joy that came over your face when you talked to your daughter. I mean, these are, yeah, I always say that genealogy gives you data, social media gives you dopamine, but we're designing Somos to give you depth. And it's those rich layers, it's those textures, that make you who you are, make you so special, and you have a story to tell. And it's your future generations, your daughter's kids are going to be able to see and experience that in a whole new way. Or maybe your daughter's kids.
Mm, texture. That's such a good word choice there. Wow. To have two companies birthed from personal tragedy might not be the right word, but personal events.
Almost tragedy. Thank God
Yeah.
they were, I mean, yeah, almost tragedy.
Yeah.
But
And
but
your
from,
son's experience
yeah,
in NICU and dietary stuff.
yeah.
Look what you've created from your events.
Yeah. And I just want to add that my son is 18, just graduated from high school, and he's fine, smart as a
Yeah.
whip. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted to put that in there because, being born at a pound sounds like it's a death sentence, but
Amazing.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
And my dad
Well,
also is fine, by the way. My dad is fine. He's not
Beautiful.
fine, but
But
he's not
yes,
he's with us.
yes, yeah. Well, from one high school graduate mom to another, virtual high five.
Congrats. I know that's a lot of work.
I was telling a story in a newsletter that I wrote about a shop, a local boutique I went into to get a graduation gift for a really special teacher. Not just a teacher, she was just a really special human in my kids' lives. And
Mm,
I wanted to get her something. And so I'm at this fancy store and they sell cards, like
mhm.
those beautiful cardstock, like they just feel really heavy and pretty. They're artistic. And I'm flipping through them and I said, these graduation cards, they're all congratulations graduate. Where's
Mm,
the one that's congratulations to the graduate adjacent person?
right, right,
Where's the good job, mom? Your
right,
kid graduated.
right.
And they were like, that is amazing. We've never seen anything like it. Let us know when you create them and we'll carry them. And I'm like, well, okay, let's add that to the list of
And that's
projects
a list of things to do, yeah.
that I have going on. But it is true. I feel like, with having just had that, it's like, good job, mom. You did
Yeah,
it. Your kid graduated.
exactly. We
So I
know how
say
much
that
work went into that. That was a lot.
exactly. So well done, Nicole.
Thank
This
you. And
this
we're still
moment,
not done. Now there's college.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I one accomplishment at a time.
right.
All right. So as we try to wrap this up, let's give you a moment to speaking to this audience. You mentioned so many important practices and concepts. What would be your closing message that maybe you haven't said yet that you really want midlife women to hear?
You know, I think that we all have this knowing, we all have this ability to trust our intuition. It takes the internal work of kind of shutting off the noise of the outside, of being told who you are by things outside of you, especially as we age, right? It's almost like you're drifting. It's like a constant, like, I can't let this jowl hang down. This thing, I got to do this and I got to do, you know what I mean? It's like, don't, it's like every message, especially in this country, is about looking more youthful and anti-aging, against aging? Really? Why are we against aging? And I don't think of midlife as a crisis. I think of it as a reinvention. And I think if we need to sit with each other and hold each other's hands and be like, girl, Jenny, you're gorgeous. I don't even want to hear any conversation about this and this, pulling up this and a little eye tuck here and this. We've got to remember to be sisters to each other. I heard someone say something about, it was really interesting. I think it was Glennon Doyle, the two pieces of wood together, like the joints that they form, like when you put two pieces of wood together, like if you have um,
Like
a
a
bureau.
cabinet edge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. The act of that I think is called sistering. And so we need to remember that sistering can be a verb. And that's who we need to be. That's what we need to be, the support, the anchor, the thing that, helps your sister get through, in some communities like help your sister fix her crown, right? Um, and I think that we all have it and we just all have to remember it. We've got to like collectively shut out the noise and grow together in sisterhood and forget this, divisiveness that the country's trying to push upon us. Try to grow together in sisterhood. And I think part of my role is to help others remember this knowing that they have, and whether that's through food, whether that's through ice cream, or whether that's through storytelling. I think it's part of my purpose here on earth. And I feel like I am alive in it, right? It completely brings me joy to sit and talk to another woman about any of this stuff. So I'm really grateful that you had me on the show. Little do you know, this has been more joyous for me than it probably has been for you. I've loved this, and it's because I get the opportunity to talk to another woman about things that, hey, we've all got this power. We are friggin' superstars, and let's do it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. My daughter took a couple years of psychology in high school, and this past year, one of these beautiful stories that I hope I always remember is her snuggling with one of our dogs saying, "Do you feel my oxytocin? Let's share oxytocin. Let's bring that out." And with your words, I want to say, Nicole, do you feel my oxytocin? It's bubbling over.
I do feel it. I feel it. Yeah,
Oh,
definitely a connection.
I feel like I could float after this
Oh, I love it.
conversation.
I love it. Me too.
Well, I want to make sure you tell people where they can find all the things that you're working on.
Okay, so Cashew Creamery is an ice cream shop that it's, again, culturally curious ice cream. It's located in Baltimore. We ship nationwide. So go to www.cashewcreamery, and it's CAJOU creamery.com. And Somos is the thing that is going to change your family's life. And that is Somos with two M's, SOMMOS .live. At this moment, you can go to somos.live and sign up for early access so that the minute it drops, you get the information and you can sign up and start to use it with your families. Somos, by the way, is with two M's because it's a palindrome. You should be able to read it both ways, right? And the reason why that's important is because it's not just about us interviewing our elders, it's about our elders, yeah, interviewing the younger generations. And the wisdom is transferred both ways. And so that was the reason behind
Yes, that's good. That's good. You're a smart lady. Wow.
that. You're the best. Thank you so much,
Wow.
Jenny.
All right. Before we go, I want to
Okay.
invite you to raise a glass.
Ooh.
Usually I have something a little more aesthetic, but right now it's a water bottle. So we'll toast our water bottles as we say cheers to sistering, because that's freaking
Yes,
amazing.
yes, yes. Cheers to that. I love it.
Oh, this has been a delightful experience in sistering. I thank you for being here. I thank you for sharing all the different facets of your story, of which there are so many more, but the ones that you illuminated today, we are better for. And I just wish you so much success in everything that you decide to do.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. And I wish the same for you. Absolutely.
All right, sister, sending you love.
All right, sis. Take it easy.
How incredible is Nicole Foster, right? And now I get to call her one of my sideline sisters, one of my sisters, period. Now let's get into her incredible notes from the sidelines. Number one, courage is built and nurtured from a strong belief in self and self love and the belief in the universe around me being abundant. Number two, make decisions based on intuition, on what feels light versus heavy. Number three, in stillness, you start to hear spirit. Try to give yourself the gift of stillness daily, even if it's just 5 minutes by yourself with no chores or anything else to do. Number four, pay attention to what you're putting into your body: food, music, conversation. It needs to be stimulating and growth promoting, or it will lead to stagnancy. Number five, life is abundant. Full stop. It's not about giving things up, but rather moving toward things for our highest good. Number six, and remember, everything happens for my best and highest good. If something doesn't happen for me, then it wasn't meant to be, and I'm not going to freak out about it. Number seven, we all have a story, and you could either be the heroine or the victim. Number eight, we need to train our bodies to understand when spirit is answering, noticing how it feels in the body and trusting it. Number nine, give yourself the liberty to think big and write out that vision. You don't have to know how, it's an adventure. Number 10, the act of storytelling is so beneficial, especially for the elderly. There's an increase in cognitive functioning that can stave off the risk of dementia. It increases well-being, and both the storyteller and the listener release oxytocin, creating connection, love, and pride. Number 11, we all have deep knowing and the ability to trust our intuition, but it takes internal work to shut off the noise from the outside and hear what's coming from the inside. And number 12, midlife isn't a crisis, it's a reinvention, and we need to support our fellow sisters through it. Thank you, Nicole Foster. That was amazing. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in, subscribing to this podcast, rating it, reviewing it, and sharing it with others. I am so excited about my vision for this show, and I need your help to grow the reach. So can you help me out? Can you share this and any other episode that you have loved with a friend, with a coworker, a family member, a neighbor? These stories are so precious, so valuable. So help me scream from the rooftops and get more subscribers. I appreciate you, the listener, so much. I appreciate my beautiful, vulnerable guests so much. Remember to check the show notes for that free breathwork, and let me know if you want more. And I will see you right back here next week for another fantastic interview. Cheers to you.